What AI is about people. It's not about the tech.
AI isn't just a technical shift, it's a behavioral shift. We will all be affected with a leadership shift, a mindset shift for professionals, and in many ways, a culture shift that will affect all of us. And if we miss the human part of it, everything else falls apart.
There'll never be a better time than now for us to talk about it. It's easy to be swept by this and forget the human side, the human element. But at the end of the day, it means that how do I leverage this technology to help humans grow?
This shift the conversation from AI as a tool to AI as a part of how we think as humans.
I'm an advocate for leveraging the technology, but not at the cost of expanding, augmenting, amplifying human potential and benefit.
Instead of starting with algorithms or tools, we are starting with people. This is the human side of AI. Welcome back to the Analyst Architect. Today, we are kicking off something special, a new video series that looks at AI from a very different angle. And instead of starting with algorithm or tools, we are starting with people. This is the human side of AI, a series where we explore how AI affects our decisions, our work, leadership, and the world we are trying to build. And I couldn't think of anyone better to explore with than someone who has spent her career at the intersection of data, strategy, and a human-centered transformation. Dora, it is wonderful to have you as we begin this journey together.
It is my pleasure and my honor to be here. Omar, I'm so happy to be here with you today, and I look forward to an impactful conversation for the audience.
For those meeting you for the first time, Dora, could you share a bit about your journey and what inspired you to join this video series?
Sure. Again, thanks for the opportunity. This is very near and dear to my heart to be talking about the human side of AI. But just to give you a little bit of background, I spent about 30 years in corporate. If I go a little further back, and some people might pick it up, and as I speak, I have a little bit of an accent because I was 17 when I came to the States to get a college education and go back to Greece where I was born and raised. But I started my career here and I spent 3 years in corporate, worked across industries, 10 years in healthcare, another 10 years in finance, another 10 years in industries like insurance and retail and construction. I worked for large organizations mostly, some startups too, like with the internet bubble era, pre-IPO, Priceline IPO, Webhouse Club, for instance. But I work for companies like GE and Stryker and Prudential. These are big global companies. And my focus and passion were always, like you said earlier, Omar, at the intersection of technology, but also helping the business, being strategic, being thoughtful about it, and of course, always the human element of it. It's been last summer, it's been less than a year and a half at the time that we're recording this, that I made a very intentional, very, conscious decision to pivot out of corporate into building my own business, if you will. But it's less about the business and it's more about me having the opportunity to, number one, have a little bit more control over my schedule to spend with loved ones, and also to just be able to focus 100% on how do I help other high-achieving professionals, other leaders in data and tech, where I spent my entire career in, to accelerate their own growth and success. I've been very fortunate to have a rewarding career, and even while I was in corporate, I spent time giving back with mentoring, coaching, speaking, podcasts, panels for about 10, 11 years now. And at this point, at this stage, I'm putting 100% of my focus and energy into doing that and helping leaders and high-achieving professionals just grow and, as I say, soar and rise with confidence, with purpose, and with clarity. And that's my focus and mission and passion right now.
Wow, that's such an inspiring story, Dora. And by the way, I love how your journey always come back to people. It sets the perfect foundation for what we are trying to do here.
Always. And like I said, even the past 10, 11 years when I was speaking, as I was leading leadership roles in global organizations at enterprise level accountability, yes, I would speak about data and AI and technology, but I would always focus on how does this help the ultimate patient or the ultimate customer? How does what we're doing help the business? What are the business objectives? So I would always connect it back to business value, but I put so much energy into also, like I was saying, coaching and mentoring people. And how do I take the lessons that I've learned the hard way usually, because being in tech is hard. Now start adding different aspects to it. Being an immigrant, hardly speaking the language, that's hard. Being a woman, and the higher up you go to the leadership ranks, there's not too many like you around, right? That's hard. So you get all of these different angles, different aspects of it. You learn lessons, and I wanted to take that and bring it back and help other colleagues, peers, emerging leaders with the lessons that I've got, because helping someone get that clarity and that confidence and grow with purpose, it's something that helps them really fast track, accelerate, make sure that they go down their own path and accelerate their own growth and success. And so it goes right back to people and humans. And that's very important to me. It's part of my DNA, really, regardless of, even if I wasn't working in tech, at the very core of it, it's about how do I help others do better with what I can bring value and focus to.
That's very powerful, Dora. And I would like to build on that. As you know, the series is called The Human Side of AI. What does that phrase mean to you personally, the human side of AI?
To me personally, really, it means about how do we use the technology to serve people. So AI, there's a lot of hype about it. It's evolving very fast. It's getting embedded in pretty much everything we do, not only at the corporate enterprise level, but in our everyday life. And even through businesses or organizations, it's impacting the way we work, the kinds of products and services that we'll put out there. So with all of this happening, and there's so much hype into it, for me, and why I even wanted to do these series with you, Omar, the human side of AI means, hey, it's easy to be swept by this and forget the human side, the human element. But at the end of the day, it means that how do I leverage this technology to help humans grow, to basically help humanity, help people, help us with better products and services. So it means that we need to start talking more about the human types of skills that are required to get the most out of this technology. It means that how do we work with each other? How do we, I think that's the minds of many people, how do we future-proof our careers in this time? Because there's so much talk about the technology, and it's powerful. And I'm an advocate for leveraging the technology, but not at the cost of expanding, augmenting, amplifying human potential and benefit.
I really love this perspective, Dora, and it is something that we really need this nowadays, especially with all the layoffs we have seen in the previous period. And because this shift the conversation from AI as a tool to AI as a part of how we think as humans. And that's exactly why we started, or we tackled this series. Now, let's walk the audience through how the series is structured and why we designed it in the first place. Ready for the tour?
Yes,
Perfect.
Let's do it.
Now, let's walk the audience through how the series is structured and why we designed it this way. As you all can see, we are covering topics that go beyond technology. We are going to tackle leadership, culture, how to scale with AI, and how to measure the impact of AI implementations, and much, much more. But before that, we start with this episode. We are here to get to know more about Dora, myself, and the reason behind doing this together, and what the human side of AI actually means. We are starting with people because everything else builds on this foundation. By the end of today, we will understand the purpose behind the series and how each conversation connects to the next conversation or the next episode. In episode 2, as you can see, we begin with the why. We look at how AI affects human decisions, behaviors, and trust, and why organizations often talk about being human-centric but struggle to apply it. And we will explore the ethical and responsible AI as well, and what this really means to the organizations, not as a policy, but as a business as usual behavior. In episode 3, we shift the gear and we shift the focus toward leadership a little bit. We explore why some leaders create real AI momentum while others get stuck. We talk about how leadership styles are changing, the mindset shifts required for the team, the leaderships, and how to balance between innovation and risk when everything is evolving so quickly. So this episode is helping leaders to understand their role, not as a technical expert, but as a guides or facilitators who are setting the direction, removing fear, and building trust across the whole journey. In episode 4, we look at the culture side. We talk about what an AI-ready culture looks like in everyday behavior, the blockers that slow people down, and how to bridge the gap between technical teams and the business teams. We also discuss how to prepare employees for an AI-enabled future without triggering fear of losing their jobs and resistance of the change. Expect a practical insights on collaboration, mindset shifting, and the culture conditions that allow AI to actually work in a real-life situation. In episode 5, we move from ideas to execution. Many organizations can run pilots, POCs, but scaling AI across an enterprise is where things often fall apart. We explore why that happens, what separates a proof of concept mindset from a true enterprise mindset, and how data architecture becomes the engine for scale. This episode will help teams see the difference between experimenting AI and operationalizing it. In episode 6, we will tackle a question every organization has. How do we know this is working? We talk about why AI impact is hard to measure, what success really means beyond accuracy metrics and KPIs that actually reflect the business value. By the end of this episode, you will understand how to turn measurement into a tool for learning, not just reporting. And in episode 7, we will discuss some lessons learned. We walk through the most common reasons AI projects fall, how to avoid building AI for AI's sake, and where data and governance usually break down. This episode is meant to help organizations avoid painful mistakes. Dora learned them the hard way and approach AI with more clarity and confidence. And finally, in episode 8, and this is the last episode in our series, where we zoom out and look at the bigger picture a little bit. There is a lot of debate nowadays about whether we are in an AI bubble and what that means for the future of the industry. We explore how to separate the hype from the real innovation, whether organizations are over-investing ahead of readiness. Then we close the series by asking, what comes after the hype? And how can professionals position themselves for a future where AI become part of the operating fabric rather than a trend? Dora, based on these topics and these episodes, why do you think it's critical to bring the human dimensions back into AI discussion right now?
Well, because it is evolving and advancing so fast at a rate that I've never seen. I spent 30 years in tech. Some people might not even know. If I say COBOL mainframe, I started as a COBOL mainframe programmer. There's always tech. And because I spent so much time in enterprise architecture, where part of my role also was to look and assess new technologies, new platforms, I can very confidently say, and I think we all know, AI is advancing very fast and it's getting embedded in everything. So we're at an inflection point. And this is exactly the point, I think, where we need to understand what are the implications? How should we go back and leverage this technology? Do we leverage it? Do we not? Are we afraid of it? Are we using it? What should we do? Because at the end of the day, everything goes right back to impacting your life, my life, every listener's life, through the products, through the services, through how we're using it every day in our personal and professional lives. So I think we're at that very pivotal moment where we cannot stress enough how important it is that what AI is about people. It's not about the tech. So highlighting and discussing the human side of AI and what that really means in all the different phases that you've shared as we're looking at the different topics through the episodes, Omar, I think it's the right time. Let me put it this way. There'll never be a better time than now for us to talk about it.
That's exactly it, Dora, to be honest. AI isn't just a technical shift, like you mentioned. It's a behavioral shift we will all be affected with. A leadership shift, a mindset shift for professionals, and in many ways, a culture shift that will affect all of us. And if we miss the human part of it, everything else falls apart, because this is the foundation from my perspective.
100%. And I just want to share this because it's very, very recent. Just last week, I was at the Florida Technology Summit, met many peers in the industry, spoke with many people. A few days before that, I was on a panel with Tampa Bay Tech, a different event, where we were talking again about bias in AI and also the human evolution of AI. And these are two very recent events that I participated at or spoke at. And the common denominator, even though we spoke a lot too about the tech, but with leaders, with practitioners, what it comes back to is how this is impacting people. And I would say one takeaway that comes through is how clarity of purpose, clarity of what it means, clarity of how we use it, and then the leadership habits as individuals, as leaders in executive leadership roles, or even as practitioners, because we're all a leader in some respect of what we're doing. The big takeaway was that this clarity and the leadership habits that we practice every day is really what determines how well we scale and how well we leverage this technology and are we using it for the benefit of us. Because we're talking a lot about, hey, this is not to replace humans. We talk a lot about augmenting and expanding our potential, our capabilities, but how do we do that? I love the fact that throughout the series, as we discuss this, Somar, hopefully the audience gets this, how exactly we do that, and that clarity and those habits that we need to be intentional about make a huge difference as to how that's going to turn out, with real impact for our lives and for society also as a whole.
Absolutely. And I would like to take this a step further and to have your insights on the full series, the episodes, how we managed to schedule each episode. What can our audience expect from this series? And one of the most important things that I would like to highlight as well, what conversations you personally are most excited to discuss with the audience and unpack within this series?
I think it makes great sense. I love the angle that you bring to this, right? About, yes, because sometimes we talk about the human side and we talk about the transformation, but then it all matters how we do that in practice. So I am looking forward to our conversation ahead. What we expect is really just real talk, practical insights, relatable examples. We're not going to talk about theory. And that's really what excites me as well. It's just having this conversation. It's a real conversation. It's not that we know everything or how everything's going to turn out. Anybody that says, hey, we know how things are going to turn out, I think they are probably mistaken, because everything is just evolving so fast anyway. But where we are, with what we know, with what we can also tell by being observant, by paying attention, by having the right conversations, being in the right rooms. So for me, I want to bring that understanding and those takeaways from those conversations, my own thought leadership, into very practical, very real, relatable stories and examples, and really just unpack it so that we wrap our hands around, what is this? We talk a lot about it. Let's not stick with theory. It's not about understanding it at a surface level, but it's about understanding, what does this mean for every one of us in my life, personally and professionally? Obviously, mostly professional we're talking about here. And what do I do about it? How should I go about it? And I would say, also, with all of that, probably a bit of a focus on the leadership side of things as well, right? What does it mean to lead through this? And I know we have an episode about leading with purpose in this age of AI. So that's what I would say, what to expect and what I'm most excited about.
Let's wrap up our introduction today to the human side of AI video series. In the next episodes, we are going to dive straight into these themes and these episodes that we shared today, starting with the human side, what really means in practice. Dora, thank you again for being part of this. I'm so excited for the conversations ahead, and I think our audience will find this series both refreshing and practical at the same time.
Omar, this is no exaggeration. I'm very excited to be here and having this conversation with you, and in a way also with the audience. And again, I'm looking forward to just a real practical, pragmatic conversation that we can all learn from and be inspired by. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you, Dora. See you in the next episode.